Welcome to the After Dark podcast with NTParanormal, your source for all things supernatural, macabre, and strange. On this show, we discuss the paranormal, metaphysical, cryptids, UFOs, true crime, conspiracies, and everything in between. Some topics, humor, and language used on this show may not be suitable for small children. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is going to be our third episode of the reboot. Today we're talking about mass psychogenic illness. I'm going to try to get right into the show because it's supposed to only be a 2-hour show, and now we have 3 people talking. And as promised, we brought in a new person to talk. Say hi, Allie.
Hi, Allie.
I was going to say hi. My name's Eli. I haven't been on before. It's nice to be here though. Thanks for inviting me as a guest on this. This
hey,
podcast.
Allie, what have you been up to?
Well, you know, pandemic-y stuff.
Okay.
Like, are you talking
Death.
about, like, since, like, the last time we did a show?
Yeah, since the last time you were...
So I gotta cover, like, 3 or 4 years worth of what I've been up to.
Probably binge watching stuff
Oh, yes,
and
so much.
working. Oh, I guess I thought it was someone important. No, I told Brad he probably should get people's hopes up.
Thanks, guys.
My lighting is going nuts here. So we're talking about mass psychogenic illness today. You might know it as mass hysteria. There's a bunch of different names for it that are actually in the DSM, the Dungeon Master's Guide, as I like to call it. Mass psychogenic illness, mass psychogenic disorder, epidemic hysteria, mass hysteria. There's a couple other names that like come up. It's I can't remember. It's like it's like a psychological contagion or something like that. It comes up more further in the research. But we did an episode on this before where we briefly touched on a bunch of these themes. I'm gonna fix this light here in a second, but it comes up quite a bit in paranormal research just because we do a lot of dealing with
Crazy people.
Witness testimony. Eyewitness testimony that you can't call them crazy people anymore.
I am a crazy people. It's our word. I do not know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's, like, in my... That's...
There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, there's That's good. We're fine now.
Well, just, you know, just...
It's okay.
That works. It's just going to be a dark episode, guys.
It is after dark.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's it. Just turn it off.
Yeah, I'll just do it in the pitch black. Then no one can see
do
my
it dark.
stupid face.
We'll do it with no lighting. Screw your mom. Well, maybe it turns out it wasn't this light after all.
Maybe it was the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This one works.
Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties as per protocol.
Yeah, I mean, why would we do anything different? We've been doing it this way for the last 6 years. Why bust out anything new?
I know, right?
So I figured I'd start out by basically talking about what the clinical definition of mass psychogenic illness is, and then opening up the discussion from there, because I think we all have a ton of examples of cases that we can discuss, and then we have some stuff with like current events that we want to get into, and then before the episode's over, I want to talk about how it should impact paranormal investigation, like what to look out for. So that's kind of the plan for this episode, and we'll try to keep it to just the 2-hour mark. But to move on, mass psychogenic illness, there's some key words in here. It's the rapid spread of illness signs and symptoms affecting members of a cohesive group, originating from a nervous system disturbance involving excitation, loss, or alteration of function, physical complaints that are exhibited unconsciously and have no corresponding organic issues. So breaking that down, basically what it's saying, that because there's a lot of things that we can call mass psychogenic illness or mass hysteria,
Right.
but I wanted to make it clear like what the clinical part of it is, because not everything that's being called mass hysteria right now is mass hysteria, and it's debatable, and it's a good discussion too. So for it to actually fall into what the DSM is looking for, is it's a rapid spread of symptoms, illness symptoms. That can, and there's a whole list of them here. They can be physical, mental, they can be behavioral, things like that. But it's a rapid spread through a cohesive group. So it's isolated to some type of specific exposure, but there is no biological component to it. That's very important. Like when we're talking about one of the cases later that is commonly lumped in with mass psychogenic illness, the big thing is they say, oh, it's because of ergot. Well, it's kind of in the mass psychogenic illness camp, and it's kind of not, because there is like a chemical component. There's a thing that was causing it.
Yeah, they think part of the Salem witch trials that could be attributed
That's
to ergot.
That's the exact case, and there's actually a few cases where they go back to that. Also, it has to. Also, the trigger is usually some type of nervous trauma. So that can be like anxiety or actual physical damage to your nervous system. And those seem to be kind of the big components that I found. Symptoms have no plausible organic basis. Symptoms that are transient and benign. Symptoms with rapid onset and recovery. The rapid part is actually really important, because if it's more gradual, it's less mass hysteria and more like just...
So, yeah, Catherine just brought up, the Salem witch trials. So that's the ergot one, and that's what they also, what they used to make LSD is ergot. So I thought that was interesting.
So interestingly enough, mass hysteria or mass psychogenic illness is not in DSM-4. It is in DSM-5 though, and it has only like the briefest of descriptions, and it's mostly described by other illnesses that refer back to that entry, which I thought was interesting. Also, it's an occurrence in a segregated group. The presence of extraordinary anxiety, symptoms that are spread via sight, sound, or oral communication, so no pathogens or anything like that. A spread that moves down an age scale, beginning with older and higher status people. I thought that one was, I didn't know that. And a preponderance of female participants, which I also thought was interesting.
Mass psychogenic illness. It's like teenage and little girls that are most prone to it.
Okay. There's
they think that's like attributed to like closeness, cohesion of group.
Just to wrap up the explanation portion of it, so we can get into you guys talking, and it's not just me. There's a couple of people that are the experts on it, like the foremost authorities. The main one being a British psychiatrist, Simon Wesley, distinguishes between two forms of NPI. I guess is the acronym for it, mass psychogenic illness. Okay, NPI. He actually breaks it into two different groups. He calls mass anxiety hysteria. He says this consists of episodes of acute anxiety occurring mainly in school children. Prior tension is absent, and the rapid spread is by visual contact. So he's very specific in what mass anxiety hysteria is. And then he has mass motor hysteria. Mass motor hysteria consists of abnormalities in motor behavior. It occurs in the age group, and prior tension is present. It occurs in any age group, and prior tension is present. Initial cases can be identified, and the spread is gradual. The outbreak may be prolonged.
This is a confusing definition. Like, what do they mean? Tension? Like any tension?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
So,
you're
like
using all
just
these
generalized anxiety.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we identify in our paranormal cases, a lot of people have some type of emotional trauma that triggers these things. He's saying, so when he breaks up all these cases and puts them into different hats, he's saying there's mass anxiety hysteria. That's people like overreacting and blah, blah, blah. They tend to have these symptoms and methods of transmission and fall into this certain age group. And then people like the dancing plague, like we're going to talk about, where they have like weird tics or people start having seizures and physical symptoms, they tend to fall into the other group.
That's just interesting, considering the case I'm going to talk about primarily affects middle-aged men.
So the other super big expert pretty much disagrees with him. So I'll touch on him and then we can get off to the races, right? While his definition is sometimes adhered to, others such as Allie Bolton of the University of Maiduguri, Nigeria, contest that Wesley's definition and describes outbreaks with qualities of both mass and motor hysteria. Both mass motor hysteria and mass anxiety hysteria. So he basically says that lumping them into those two groups, there's too much crossover. And he says these are both PhDs arguing. I'm not qualified to argue with either of them, but they are arguing with each other about those definitions. So for the sake of this discussion, we can kind of reflect back on that, I guess.
The cat just bit my toe. Sorry.
The stupid cat.
It's very distracting.
Oh, the DSM-4 does not have a specific diagnosis of this condition, but it is in the DSM-5. The text describing conversion disorders states that an epidemic hysteria has shared symptoms developed in a circumscribed group of people following exposure to a common participant. So it's real kind of muddy as an actual psychological diagnosis. Like there's a lot of it that's kind of still up for debate. So the one we're going to get into a little bit later, that's why I was a little muddy on whether or not he's technically right or technically wrong. I think what he's saying is harmful, but
I don't know. Amelia just just mentioned a story about witches stealing penises. It was very distracting.
okay.
Like the penis witch in the Philippines that would steal a man's penis, and the only way a man could get it back was to sleep with the witch. Is that mass hysteria or culturally accepted sexual assault?
But
yes.
she took the thing that he needed to. What?
So the closest thing to actual mass hysteria or mass psychogenic illness is conversion disorder, which relates back to it. And conversion disorder is paralysis or other neurologic pathology without an underlying organic cause. And that reminded me of fibromyalgia when we were talking about stuff like that on Strictly Sickly, where it's pain that they're saying is referred basically in your mind. So that would be why getting a fibromyalgia diagnosis when you're having an actual pain sucks, because they're basically just saying you're suffering from your own hysteria.
Yeah, your brain is.
It's not mass hysteria, but it's your hysteria or whatever.
Despite the fact that like your body feels like it's on fucking fire.
So fibromyalgia is code word for conversion disorder, is what I learned from that little journey.
Yeah.
So what are y'all's thoughts on that? Like,
Which part? That was a lot.
I mean, just the general definition of mass hysteria. Like, I don't think we have encountered any cases personally of people just having like straight hysteria in their homes sort of thing. We have had multiple people witness stuff.
I mean, we have like, okay, so I would say we might, a good example of that, or at least kind of in a closer thing, is like anytime we go to like group events. Like when we did, remember when we did Tyler?
That's what
the
I
Tyler
think of.
Caricon, like the first time. Remember when we did that old warehouse place?
Yeah, and the people started hearing stuff.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, I hear it over here.
You know what?
Oh
That's
god,
a good point.
Yeah.
I never thought about the paranormal tours. But
Well, anyone we go on, what one did we go on?
Jefferson,
Jefferson,
where
was
the
what I was thinking.
where somebody slammed the door and all of a sudden everybody was just all
Everybody
in.
lost
even before
it.
that.
Yeah.
Even before, because you're. Not only are you in a group you've set up, so that would meet all the criteria, but you're also there to do that.
Right.
That's what you're there for.
Well, it's almost that confirmation bias. Everybody that's there already think that they're looking for evidence to support a thing that they already believe.
Right.
So as soon, everybody's waiting for it. So as soon as that door slammed, it was like the powder keg just went off. Like we reacted on the video too. We were like,
it could
oh,
have been
crap.
anything.
Yeah,
it could have
Yeah.
been anything.
Well, I mean,
all of this.
big loud noise it's pretty startling.
It was
But
looking
immediately
back-
everybody was like, it's paranormal because somebody poked their head in and there's nobody in there. Well, somebody had obviously ran through. Like there was a perfectly logical.
I think you're remembering that because I remember a lot of people being like, okay, we need to go look because obviously something happened and we need to go figure out what
No,
it
that was us.
There
That-
were other people too, though, because I know there was a dude in there with me. He was talking to me when I was messing with the door, and he was like, I think someone went back. Like, we weren't the only ones who thought that it had some sort of cause. But yeah, at the first jump, everybody was startled and everybody was a little like, oh shit, this just happened. Because it was very startling. You're in a dark room, a door slams, you can't see the cause. I'm not sure if that's mass hysteria or logical panic.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, okay.
Not even panic, just logical anxiety based on the fact that you're in a building.
But everyone was seeing stuff before that. I think was the point Allie
they
brought
started,
up.
yeah, like people started, I wouldn't say they weren't like already like whipped up in like a frenzy or anything like that, but people were starting to get like amped up, and then whenever the door slammed, it was like bam, that's when everybody's like, oh my gosh, like yeah. So
I just think that even if people hadn't been amped up, I think that would have lit a fire under anybody in that situation.
yeah, it was loud and it was dark, and anything loud
That
happens
was
in the
Class
dark.
A, baby. That was a Class A door slam.
I'd consider what was going on before to be mass hysteria on a small scale, but I consider what happened when that door slammed to be logical.
Right, yeah. You hear a door slam when a door's not supposed to be slamming. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's a localized kind of idea, the concept. I think it's valid. And like you said, with the original one out at Tyler, where we're at the old antique store, because nothing had there was no catalyst.
Oh, I was thinking about the warehouse where the guy came in and he was like, "Look at the green light. Now, if you stare at it for a while, it'll move."
It was an antique store. It was a warehouse, but it was used as an antique store.
Great! We can't even remember.
There was literally nothing in it, and then we did the antique store the next night, so I was confused because
it was a warehouse that they kept antiques in.
But we did the antique store the next night, right? Or whatever. Like, we also did an antique store when we were in Tyler.
That was Jefferson.
Oh, whatever. Same place. But
I mean,
anyway.
it really kind of is.
But I'm also not sure how much of that was mass hysteria and how much of that was people putting on.
Right.
I don't think any of that was mass. I don't believe any of those people. I think they all want to be star of the show.
I mean, yeah.
With their psychic powers, air quotes.
Yes, and because
welcome to the air quote show, guys. It's back.
Because just like in anytime we go anywhere where we have multiple different ghost hunters or groups or anything like that, we run into, like, it doesn't even matter what the story is. You can know the entire history of the building inside and out. Demons. And then one person says it's demons, and then another group says, yeah, that was a demon. And then it just kind of barrels on and on and on. And then, suddenly, every ghost hunter group is like, yeah, I have, scratches on my back from a demon.
3 scratches. It's a mocking of the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
It's a demon. I love that. That's fun for me.
So it is one of those things, anytime we're out, definitely with, so I take everything with a grain of salt, that anyone says about anything.
And Julie mentioned that people think those girls were putting on for attention and trying to outdo each other, and Emilio responded and said that'd be wild because the winner of that prize got dead.
But they're remembered forever. It's the same thing with school shooters.
But this is a bunch of girls in the pre-internet age. I'm not sure if things were. I don't think we can even begin to guess.
Wait, what girls are you talking about?
The Salem witch trials.
Oh, okay.
I don't think.
I mean, that's definitely pre-internet.
I just don't think we can even begin to know what was going on in their heads or with their community or who was saying.
Well, maybe they should have fucking invented TikTok.
Okay, but
pretty sure they would have had to have. I mean, a lot of it, they didn't have a voice, and guess what happened? People listened to them whenever they said they were, whenever they said that they were being hexed or whatever like that. People were actually listening to them because they had no voice. They were girls in the 1600s.
I agree with that to an extent.
So Amelia was talking about there was a possession panic and a girl's Catholic. Is that one on your list? The girl acted possessed, another girl's false.
Yeah. Okay, that was one of the ones that I came across too.
Man, Emilio should come run this show. He knows so damn much.
Come be on the show, Emilio, and just mock Ashton the whole time.
So the first 3 official cases that are out there that are considered as mass hysteria are surprisingly all nuns starting in the 1400s. 3 completely separate cases. So the first one is a group of nuns in Spain just started biting people. It started with one. It was a biting epidemic. Started with one nun. Then she told her friends, and she told her friends, and she told her, and eventually,
why so many nun epidemics?
I don't know. And it's all through history, even in modern days.
Yeah, like that's a lot of.
I think nuns get bored, man. But yeah, they started just biting people, and that was a big epidemic, and they couldn't figure out why nuns were just biting people.
Because why not? Who's going to freaking fight a nun?
A little bit later in 1518 in Strasbourg, you have the very famous dancing plague. This one's like referenced in a bunch of TV shows. I think it's in that show Evil,
probably,
that we watched, and it was probably mentioned in X-Files, like everything. But one nun just started dancing one day and kept dancing and dancing, and then more nuns started dancing, and it spread, and they could not get the nuns to stop dancing. It was just the dancing nuns everywhere.
Is that like the flying nun?
Kind of. What's interesting about that one is it was more like it's the very first case where mass hysteria started spreading through media, because the media at the time was covering this very strange occurrence. So like the knowledge of it was getting more widespread during the time, and so it was starting to affect people outside the convent and people that came and visited, and they attributed it to some kind of plague. Like, it's the 1400s. They think it's like some kind of sickness. They think it's the devil. They did exorcisms, which exacerbated things. And some of the media, and even like modern media, we were watching like a top 10 thing the other night, and I said they're going to mention that people dance themselves to death.
YouTuber that did no research,
but so even modern media, like when they're reporting on it, say that like several nuns danced themselves to death, like it was that serious, because that's how. But there is no record of anybody dying from this event that happened. And that's a very interesting kind of component of it, where these stories get kind of exacerbated. And then more symptoms come as an effect. It's like a domino effect. So like if one thing is happening and I report that extra things are happening, then all of a sudden the extra things start happening with the people that hear it. And that's one of the things that distinguishes like mass hysteria from people that are actually experiencing some kind of like contact illness or whatever, because I can invent new symptoms and people will start having those symptoms. You look like you had a commentary. No.
I'm just reading comments. Satanic panic.
Satanic panic is
toilet paper apocalypse hysteria.
Yeah. And then the third one that happened just a little bit after that there's not a ton of info on it, but nuns once again just started meowing. Like meowing, and the way that this stopped is the priests after like a year of like the priests would go to talk to the nuns and they would just meow them down, and so I really, to me, through the lens of hundreds of years, it really feels like they were just trolling because they were mad. But eventually the meowing stopped because the priests decided to beat the nuns until they stopped meowing.
Well, we know how to end mass hysteria.
Beat them. So.
Yeah, the dancing plague was initially attributed to a woman being bit by a tarantula, and the venom made her dance convulsively.
Tarantulas aren't that kind of venomous.
So, what kind of dancing were they doing where they couldn't tell a seizure from a dance?
Flash dance. Oh, yeah, there was, what was it where I asked you about epilepsy? They said it wasn't.
You said they'd written that it wasn't consistent with epilepsy, like this.
Yeah, but it was like from like the 1400s. One of the medical accounts of that dancing thing, the doctor that came out and examined them said, like specifically in his notes, says could not be caused by epileptic. And I didn't think they had knowledge of epilepsy back then, because we were still. Oh, it was in the Salem witch trials. It's the doctors that went and examined the girls in the Salem witch trials said that the convulsions that they were going through were more violent. Say it was 1700s.
I think
It was later. I'm confusing my
epilepsy
stories
is
in
a
my
pretty
head.
old.
Epilepsy is a pretty one, like
super old diagnosis.
I don't think it was like.
But I didn't think it was widely studied, and like I didn't think they had knowledge of epilepsy in the 1700s.
No, because everything was
demons.
But he wrote down
or
epilepsy, so. How do you know that's not something we've gotten wrong? Like the people writing down that people dance themselves to death. Maybe they had like a lot more medical like knowledge than we like as lay people.
Well, okay.
I'm assuming Google Scholarly.
I honestly, okay. So here's the thing. I think we're both right. Okay, because maybe most of Europe had really good medical knowledge, but the Puritans not so much. The Puritans rejected medical knowledge.
Well, but they had a doctor. I mean,
they did have I mean, it could have been like a chiropractor. I don't know.
Or it could have been like someone who wasn't a Puritan and was just with it. Like
it could also be that they were using epileptic differently than we do now. It may not have been a medical term, but they were. I found it striking that it was in
the notes.
In the notes, that literature that this couldn't be caused. This was too violent for epileptic, which we know isn't true. Like epileptic people can do a lot of violent things. I was just kind of stoked. I was like, wow, like somebody thought of epilepsy in the 1700s as a possible answer for what was going on before they just started dunking them in the lake to see, if they weighed more than a duck or whatever. So that was nuts. The 1920s Halifax slasher shows up on a lot of people's lists. That one is pretty hilarious. Well, not to some people, I guess. So it happened in Halifax, England. So basically there were a bunch of reports of people just being attacked by somebody with a hatchet called the Halifax slasher. 2 women barely got away. Later it was a guy that was attacked. Later it was another person that was attacked. Happened from November 1938. Followed a series of reported attacks on local people, mostly women. The hysteria spread elsewhere and was partly blamed on previous slashing event in the 1920s.
Wait, that sounds a lot like the jazz guy.
But that was a real thing.
The jazz guy.
The jazz guy.
The guy in Louisiana. The
in New Orleans.
Dude.
The axe jazz acts.
But I thought that was true. This one
with
was...
an axe. No, it was it was true, and like he, I'm so bad.
So the week-long scare began after Mary Gladhill and Gertrude Watts claimed to have been attacked by a mysterious man with a mallet and bright buckles on his shoes. 5 days later, Mary Sutcliffe reported an attack on herself. Reports of attacks by a mysterious man with a knife and a razor continued, and the nickname the Halifax Slasher stuck. Situation became so serious that Scotland Yard was called in to assist the Halifax police. Vigilante groups were set up on the streets, and several people mistakenly assumed to have been the attacker were beaten up. Businesses in town was all but shut down. Rewards for the capture of the attacker were promised. Reports came of more attacks in nearby cities. The panic spread so much that the vigilante gangs were roaming the streets of the town, and after Hilda Lodge was attacked, Clifford Edwards, a local man who had gone to help, was later accused of being the slasher himself. Soon a mob gathered, and after they had started to chant for his death, police had to escort him home. There was absolutely no evidence. In the evening of 29th of November, Percy Waddington, who had reported an attack, admitted that he inflicted the damage upon himself. Others soon made similar admissions, and Scotland Yard investigation concluded that there actually was no slasher attacks. 5 local people were subsequently charged with public mischief offense, and 4 were sent to prison. And then on December 2nd, the Halifax Courier ran the story about the whole thing. So
what a fun conviction. Mischief. Like
but
it's so fun.
What I find interesting, so I understand like the concept of hoaxes.
Right.
Like we've talked about hoaxes before, where like one person kind of wants attention and they do a thing. But in this case, there's like 5 to 10 people who are all doing physical harm to themselves to blame it on this slasher for attention, and it just kind of like spreads. And there is no culprit.
It's kind of like if Munchausen's disease not to be confused with Munchausen by proxy, but Munchausen's disease was contagious. That's what that would kind of sound like.
Munchausen's is a disease where you basically pretend to be sick or take stuff to make yourself sick because you want attention, or that you can't function otherwise. And by proxy is when you do it to another family member. Just.
Oh, are you explaining? I was like, yeah, I know that.
But
Yeah, we're not the only ones here,
Yeah.
Allie. God. Just completely forget our audience out here. It's all right. I think you're important. No, I find it nuts that you have, because they're not like I could see like a hoax where that many people are working in unison to make a hoax.
right.
But these are all individual people that don't know what the other one's doing. So it's just like, I'm going around doing a thing, and this random dude down the street is harming himself. And then this other person on the other end of town is harming themselves and blaming it on this person. And somebody's is chased down by a lynch mob at the end of this. And then you get to the very end of it, and it's 10 completely separate people that their only connection is like following this story and wanting to be a part of it, perpetrating this, and someone almost gets hanged because these people are just like nuts about the Halifax slasher, who doesn't even exist. Like, it's the very first attack wasn't even a real attack. Like, it's interesting how that kind of like psychology snowballs in there.
Right.
And I think there's a few cases. There's multiple cases that are like that.
Well, it's like, God, what was it? The daycare in that daycare center.
McMartin.
Yeah, the McMartin
back to
preschool.
Satanic Panic.
Yeah, back, to take it to the Satanic Panic. These people spent time in jail.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for crimes that, like, they did not commit.
That children made up.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they do like hypnosis on the children to get them to? Wasn't that
They
part
did,
of it too?
Implanted memory.
They did like
Psychic driving.
Yeah.
Psychic driving.
So a lot of that was, suggestion. It wasn't. Like,
When did that happen? That was the
that was
80s.
80s.
McMartin was the 80s.
Yeah, it was like right in the like thick of the Satanic Panic.
And see that's an interesting example too, because the kids are actually part of the mass hysteria in themselves, because I don't think they're trying to be dishonest about these stories that they're doing.
The first kid,
but they're all not colluding is
well,
a long
but the
word,
first kid they think was actually abused, and he went to his parents and he told them stuff, and then they blamed he was really little, they couldn't get like stuff, but anyway, and it just like then they started asking more kids and they started coming out with these stories. But there was a book that came out a little while before that about a girl who had experienced some sort of like satanic, like people that thought that that's what they were doing, like Satanism. And anyway, it became popular in the 80s. But Emilio mentioned the clowns from a few years ago where everyone would see clowns, but there was never actually any clowns.
Not one single clown.
No.
Dude, but
Not one.
that one was not.
That's the scariest place ever.
That was not fun for me. Like, that was not fun at all.
God, there is a lot of my notes here that is just about the Crucible, but I do not want to relive high school right now, because the Crucible is just horrible. But anybody that's not familiar with the Crucible, that is the Salem witch trials, and that basically just started it was 3 girls, right? Three girls.
I don't know. Goody Proctor dancing naked.
I
with
thought
the-
there was 6.
I think it started as 3, and then they started bringing the other girls in on it because they didn't want to be. It's better to accuse somebody else of being a witch than it is to be accused of being a witch yourself. And so they were just making up all these things about how they're getting harmed and seeing ghosts and possession and all that. And doctors came out and examined them, and it just snowballed. And like 7 people died as a result of that. Just friends, family, neighbors.
It got a little out of hand.
That's the only reason that anybody knows what the Malus Maleficarum is, because they busted that.
Well, no,
joyful.
I mean, it's really not, because like before all of this, there was also a witch, like an active like witch hunt situation going on in Europe as well. And a lot of it, a lot of the same thing where like, people died as a result of like people's fervor and insistence on there being witches, and then everybody's a witch, and then
Even these days, it happens in other places where they decide someone's a witch and they like outcast them from the community, or they kill them to save their crops.
albino children.
Oh yeah,
in Africa
that they harvest for their organs.
Hey, check this out.
I'm not sure if that's mass hysteria so much as it is
just sad.
wanting money.
Yeah.
So this page was buried in everything. It's in the wrong spot, but it's a list of symptoms of mass psychogenic illness, but it's ranked by percentage, like the most common symptoms to the least common symptoms. And I thought it was interesting. So 67%, the biggest one, headache. Apparently headache is a big symptom of it. Like if I just say I have a headache, other people will start or can possibly start having a headache if they're susceptible to mass psychogenic illness. 46%, it's dizziness or lightheadedness. 41% nausea, followed by abdominal cramps or pain, cough, which is interesting because you've just kind of developed like a cough tick.
It's not.
Recently.
I have OCD. It's an OCD.
I know, but I found it interesting.
And now that you said it.
Fatigue, drowsiness, or weakness, sore or burning throat, hyperventilation or difficulty breathing, watery or irritated eyes. We're down in 13% now, by the way. Chest tightness, chest pain, inability to concentrate, trouble thinking. Down to 10% now. We're at vomiting. Also 10% tingling, numbness, or paralysis. 8% is anxiety or nervousness, paranoia. 7% is diarrhea, trouble with vision. 4% rash. 4% loss of consciousness or syncope.
Passing
out.
Fainting is syncope.
And 3% is itching.
I mean, a lot of this sounds like it could be solved by Pepto-Bismol.
Heartburn, indigestion,
something.
diarrhea, or mass psychogenic illness.
Right?
They should add mass psychogenic illness to the Pepto-Bismol bottle.
I know. I was just like, are these the lesser known things that Pepto-Bismol helps with?
It's what comes in the blue bottle.
Yes.
Let's see. We had the Crucible, and then we had
The Crucible's a book.
Crucible is a book.
The Crucible is the book written by the judge. Yeah, the Salem witch trials. Let's see. Terrorism, biological warfare.
The Crucible's written by who?
Nathaniel Hawthorne, which is the son of the judge son or grandson.
Oh, you said written by the judge, and I was very confused. I was like, are you saying someone from the Salem witch trials wrote that? Because that's what you said.
Well, Judge Hawthorne wrote the documentation of it, and then the Crucible, the book, which is not 100% historic. It's like kind of
because
bumped up.
It's an allegory for.
It was written by Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Play by Arthur Miller, The Crucible. I knew you were. Is a 1953 play by American playwright Arthur Miller. Right?
That's the play. That's the playwright.
Okay.
The book, The Crucible, is written by Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Inspired by the McCarthy hearings of the 1950s. I'm not finding any.
Nathaniel Hawthorne wrote, if I'm not mistaken,
He wrote the one where the guy runs. Last of the Mohicans, right? That was Hawthorne.
What are y'all talking about?
What are you talking about?
Hawthorne is the judge. It was Judge Hawthorne presided over the Salem witch
Nathaniel Hawthorne wrote the Scarlet Letter, bro.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know what
That's another
the Crucible
type
is the Crucible is a modern like telling of
I don't know what you're talking about.
McCarthyism.
Yeah, it's supposed to be about like the Red Scare and like the list that everybody went on and like how that was similar to the Salem witch trials. I think you're thinking of something else here, sweetie.
Nathaniel Hawthorne had a thing for
I thought he did Last of the Mohicans.
I think he might have, but I know he definitely
No, that was Kevin Costner.
Okay, well apparently we're just saying any names now.
Hold on, now I have to do.
We're not here to be accurate. Yeah, no, I'm curious though as to what you were talking about. So
he did not do.
Okay, I don't care anymore.
Would you like to hear what it says under terrorism and biological warfare?
Are you? How many paragraphs is it?
A few.
No, I do not want you to read 3 paragraphs. I want you to tell me in your own words and make it entertaining.
Summarize.
Yeah, please.
Basically, in 2001, the anthrax scares is what it's bringing up. That was mass hysteria. People were just finding powder and everything. But see,
in some cases, people were just putting baby powder in mail and having some fun with it.
Right after the 2001 anthrax attacks, in the first 2 weeks of October 21, there were over 2,300 false anthrax alarms in the United States. Some reported physical symptoms of what they believed to be anthrax. And I feel like that also feeds into what you were talking about earlier with Gulf War
Syndrome.
Gulf War syndrome.
Yeah.
Which also goes into Havana Syndrome, which is one of the more current events that I guess we can talk about. But yeah, people were just dumping powder and stuff. But what I find interesting about that is that one was triggered by actual anthrax attack. There were some anthrax attacks.
Yeah, because this happened shortly after 9/11.
And it was that dude. It was that dude in his basement just sending anthrax.
It's always some dude in his basement.
White dude.
It's always a white dude in his basement. Yeah.
In like Montana.
Like if you're a realtor, maybe don't sell a house with a basement.
Yeah, just get rid of all basements.
White people.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I did have a thing on Havana Syndrome here. It started in 2017. Employs the embassy.
2016.
2017.
No, my sources say 2016.
Your sources is wrong.
Oh my gosh, are y'all gonna fight?
Yes.
Just gonna flip it along. Okay. We've already proven that I'm right and he's wrong, so I don't think we need to fight.
Here's an interesting. Okay, so also in biological warfare, in 2001, I never heard this one. A man sprayed what is later found to be window cleaner into a subway station in Maryland. 35 people were treated for nausea, headaches, sore throats, and seizures.
Okay.
From window cleaner. Because they thought it was a biological. He was like, this is anthrax.
They panicked. They had anxiety attacks.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Which those also suck.
Yeah, that'll make you feel real bad.
I ended up in the ER with a panic attack one time.
It happens.
So yeah. Which events did you look up? What did you become an expert in?
Nothing.
Nothing. I'm never an expert, but like,
because you're going to tell us about Havana Syndrome. Or we're going to talk about Havana Syndrome.
Yeah, because there's some
the whole Tide Pod thing. Because like that one, I mean, I can't believe I didn't think about it before. Like, because, okay, so yes, some kids, like 84 kids ate Tide Pods, but it became such a thing.
Wait, somebody actually did that? I always heard it was 0.
No, it was 80. Like, the number is 80. Like, it's in the double digits. It's like 84 kids actually ate Tide Pods.
Why would you think that no one would do that?
I mean, it's the forbidden candy.
Did they eat Tide Pods or did they smoke Tide Pods?
They ate them.
I thought they
Tide Pod. They're wet.
I thought they were vaping them. I heard something about vaping Tide Pods.
You can't put that in.
Anyway, only 80 kids.
Only about
that doesn't sound like mass hysteria. Then that sounds like that actually happened.
It did actually happen, but what made it mass hysteria is like because it became like a viral challenge. You know, that was whenever it became like a media sensation, like, you know, like Fox News, CB, you know, like all of your local news stations as well were like reporting that this was happening, that your kids are doing this. That was like epidemic levels. That it was epidemic levels to the point where now Tide and anyone that sells laundry detergent in pod form,
it has to be behind
behind the glass doors, or it has a special lock on it.
Right.
Catherine, I said, I wonder what the correlation between mass hysteria and people susceptible to hypnosis is, and I find that to be interesting.
I did forget to talk about that in the explanation. So there are groups of people that are more prone to mass hysteria, and the 3 big groups they found are people that are extroverted, extroverted. So there's one for you. They found people that had I lost the word for it, but it's basically an inclination toward negative feelings. So it would
pessimism. What? Pessimism?
Basically, that's
there's
a clinical name for it, but it's people that will either suffer with depression or anger problems.
It sounded almost like neurosis. I remember you saying it.
Yeah, neurodivergent or something. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
There's a word for it, but people who either have depression or a tendency to be pessimistic or anger issues, things like that. People that are more on the negative end of the emotional spectrum, they are more susceptible. And then the third big group is low IQ. People with low IQs are highly susceptible. Those are the three factors they see in most cases of people that actually exhibit
Thank God
some
I
kind
only
of
have
symptoms.
Well, there's just got to be like an off on the Venn diagram, because you also have to have a high enough IQ to understand what's going on.
Exactly. Well, and obviously not everybody's going to fit that mold. And there's going to be stuff that's like way out in left field. They're just saying, like, out of all the buckets, these make up 60%, 80%.
Which is interesting to me, like low IQ, but at a certain point, you're too low.
Yeah.
It's
And
just,
in
you
that-
kind of have to be in the like sweet spot.
And
which
in
is
that Venn diagram,
average intelligence.
in that Venn diagram, if you're below average intelligence, you're a negative Nancy and extroverted, like you won't stop talking to strangers, you are probably already suffering from some kind of...
I got 2 out of those.
I have
One.
Did you say... Were you about to say 4 when I only listed 3?
I have this.
I have 4 out of 3.
Well, apparently 3.
I
I definitely think you have
I have
the low
the secret.
IQ.
I have the secret fourth one.
That's just low IQ.
Again,
It's just like dumb twice. Like,
double low IQ.
But knowing that those 3 factors are like the big major ones, now think of all the people that buy into conspiracy theories or buy into, some of the stuff that we know is just like hysterical. And how much of those do they match? I mean, like Ben Shapiro falls directly into that. He's not low IQ, though.
No, he's a lawyer and very smart. He's just also an a-hole. But
smart people can fall into that though,
because they think they're too good for it.
But
exactly.
he has the other 2 factors. He's very extroverted.
Are you sure? I don't think any of us know him as a person.
He won't shut up. He talks to people just on the street.
It's his job.
Okay, whatever.
I'm just the interesting.
Well, he's also the type of person to like. I at least from what I can gather, who just can't stop telling people that, his way of living is right. Their way of living is wrong, and that's why he has to tell them.
I mean,
not necessarily.
It's a psychological principle anyway that whatever way you're living, you try and convince other people it's the best way, so you feel less bad about it. Like if you're married, you try to convince other people that marriage is great. If you're single, you try to
not
kids.
neurodivergence.
It's something. It was like a word that sounded.
Please
almost
don't
like,
say neurodivergent. People are just negative.
It sounded like neuroses almost, like being neurotic. But because he was reading it to me last night, it sounded like being neurotic, but it's hard to pronounce.
Something neurosis.
I've got it. I'll find it.
I haven't been reading the comments because I was looking at the Havana Syndrome stuff I've got, so I hope you're reading them. I don't know what I've missed.
I don't either. Oh shit. Sorry guys. QAnon.
Oh, well,
Catherine brought up QAnon.
Well, that's what I was going to say is there's so much going on right now that could fall into this. There is so much going on. And Emilio, too, had mentioned the way it could spread now with, like, social media.
So, and that's real interesting with what I gave Allie to, or what she gave herself to kind of look up. Because I mentioned I don't want to say the name because it'll get us flagged, but the MOMO.
Oh.
Wow, you can't even say it.
Some of my old posts got me banned. Like they brought up posts from 2 years ago where we were talking about how it was a hoax, and it put me on a suspension that was one of my suspensions. And there was nothing I could do about it because it was a 2-year-old post and it wasn't even in a... So we're going to say, everybody knows what we're talking about, the MOMO thing, where there was...
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another one that I looked up, but I figured you probably
neuroticism.
Neuroticism. Okay. Yeah.
That sounds like sexy neuroses.
Well, when I first read it, I thought they were saying like neurotic people, and so I had to look it up. And it's depression, negative feelings, anger, depression, emotional instability.
Those are...
Could have just started Reddit.
I just said neurotic people. Emilio says Y2K. You know, I think about Y2K sometimes because a girl that I hung out with at the time, her dad like filled all the bathtubs with water, and like my dad found that amusing, but like I don't know. I think we were going off it's that space where people live where there's too much information and also not enough.
Yeah.
Well, we were also going through a transition of technology too. So everybody that was the adult, because I was a kid.
I think we all were.
Yeah. Everybody that was the adult at that time had a limited knowledge of technology and where it was going and what it was doing. And then the younger people had a limited knowledge of technology because, we were hip and we knew the new stuff, but trust me on it. I was a computer geek, but we had a limited knowledge because we didn't have that experience of what came before.
It was the use of the word hip.
Yeah. So when they were talking about, there's this bug and it's this clock error that could shut things down because we've automated too much stuff. It was totally plausible. Like it was silly, but it was plausible. Like if all the computers shut down, what are we going to do? You got to remember, at that point in time, debit cards were still kind of new. Like we had only been using debit cards like 4 or 5 years. FICO scores only started in the early 70s. Like there's a lot of this stuff that we think is like...
Oh, yeah, I know credit scores aren't very old.
Yeah.
There was also, I was going to say, right after 9/11. So I was...
9/11.
But I was 15 and I just got in my car and I ran out of gas that day. And the night of 9/11, I was going over to my dad's house in Cleveland and I just stopped by the gas station. And people were literally just ramming into people at the gas pumps to try and get them out of the way because they were losing their minds.
Oh, yeah, that happens. But that happens a lot of times.
Well, I guess that was the first time I'd ever seen something like that when nothing had actually happened. We're in Cleveland, Texas. They're not coming for us.
Oh, okay. So I guess, do you remember when Hurricane Harvey hit? And we lost a couple of refineries down in Houston. And so people started panic buying gas and thinking that, like, oh, my gosh, we're going to run out of gas. So we need to get gas, which then caused us to run out of gas. Because we caused, like, the entire state of Texas caused its own freaking problem.
You mean like COVID? Like everything that's ever happened has caused us to run out of toilet paper, gas, and bread?
It's just like... I think over the last few years, like, I think they actually need to go in and augment the definitions of these, of mass hysteria and stuff, because with social media and all that, I don't think the same criteria work anymore.
Well,
I don't think they do.
What I was going to say, man, I got derailed on my own, but what I was going to say is some of the case, the first case you brought up, the Tide Pod thing. Mm-hmm. So all that stuff was spread through YouTube. It was only in 2017 was the first official case of mass hysteria spread through electronic means or whatever, through videos.
Are you talking about the MOMO?
No. There was one before that. It was like the cinnamon challenge.
Oh, the cinnamon challenge.
Oh God.
Yeah. It started with the cinnamon challenge, and then it went to one that was like more dangerous. I think it was the like drink as much water or milk or something as you can, and supposedly people were dying from dry drowning themselves from doing it, and they were saying that was the first official case. It was unprecedented because it happened in multiple areas. So before 2017, mass hysteria was always localized to areas of like contact. So there was only so far it could go before it petered out.
There'd be like a bubble here where it started and then went over here where someone had gone somewhere, but it wasn't just like 80 bubbles at once.
Yeah. YouTube is directly responsible for global level mass hysteria. Like it can be traced back directly to YouTube.
I mean,
the start of YouTube.
I mean, this could get pretty dangerous. I mean, you get the right hoax.
Well, it already has. It's already gotten dangerous. A guy spear gunned his children in Mexico over QAnon.
Fair enough, yeah. Or like that one guy who was caught outside the pizza place.
Oh, the Comet Pink. The
Comet Pizza outside of
pizza.
DC. Like, thank God before he could actually hurt anybody.
Another one that came to mind, and I don't know if this would count as massive. This one's debatable too. What would you say? Do you think Elsagate falls on that?
I think the assumption of what that is does, but these videos exist.
Yeah, they absolutely
I've been on YouTube.
Oh, enlighten me what it is again. Oh, isn't it somebody taking like kids' videos and then putting weird stuff?
Okay, so what it really is someone from another country has figured out the algorithm, but English isn't their primary language. So they're just dumping in random stuff that bumps the algorithm. That's all they're doing. But what it comes how it comes packaged to us is a bunch of weird, creepy stuff in children's programming. It'll be like Elsa and Spider-Man, and there'll be like implied sex stuff or implied violence. These videos exist.
Yeah, they absolutely do. But like people are like, oh my gosh, they're grooming the children.
Okay.
And they're not. They're just bumping the algorithm, and it's in such a way that the people that flag stuff usually don't watch the whole video, so they don't put it at the very beginning. They're making money.
Yeah,
they're just producing.
They're monetizing their video.
As many of these videos as there's thousands and thousands.
Which is really weird that they're able to monetize it because they're using copyrighted content. Like if they're using Elsa and Spider-Man,
it's people in costumes. I'm not sure if that counts.
It doesn't count. Yeah, it doesn't count if it's people in costumes.
It's people in costumes generally. But the problem is it's the thing like alt-right pipeline thing where you start getting videos that are more and more extreme. The problem is you leave your kid on the kid's YouTube, and eventually it cycles through to these videos.
Eventually, they're just watching Joe Rogan podcasts.
That's why, like, I straight up told, because Zach wants to watch like YouTube while we go to sleep, and I'm like, no, because we're gonna wake up and it's gonna be some alt-right guy yelling at us, and he's like, oh, that doesn't happen. I'm like, it absolutely happens.
Yeah, actually, my Facebook algorithm has been like infiltrated, just because I went to like go look stuff up on my phone like for research or whatever, and now all of a sudden like it's in my feed, and I'm like, no, I absolutely don't want to watch Tucker Carlson. I'm good.
Really, because I do.
Oh, you gotta rage watch him at least once, because he is ridiculous.
Him and his bow tie. I wish him and David Finfrock would just like fist fight.
The Havana Syndrome one is the one I got, and it's like, I don't know though. Some of the stuff I was reading today, like they don't know. They don't know what it is because it's so new. It's, what was it, 2016 is like the first. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, but that's right up there with like the Jew lasers.
Good Lord, man. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that they were.
Yeah. But you said 80 kids actually did the Tide Pod thing, and then it snowballed into like a media problem, and then it became
like a media and social media like thing, like, because like remember like a few years ago people were like, oh my god, all these millennials, because like I would get so upset because I'm like, these aren't millennials, these are our children, like doing dumb shit. Only our children would do dumb shit, not us. But anyway. But it just became like this whole thing, like, these dumb kids eating Tide Pods, we didn't do anything like that, blah, 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 blah.
But what was interesting about it is, like, I remember seeing the feed, and, like, I thought 0 people had done it.
No, it was...
I thought it was 0.
It was 84. The number is 84.
But I thought it was 0 in spite of everybody and their mom saying they knew somebody that did this thing, and I didn't believe it the other direction. But and I know these people that were saying that they knew this had happened.
They probably don't, though.
They don't. Yeah, it's that whole urban legend thing. It's like, it's my neighbor's uncle's cousin's sister.
84 is very little.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's so tiny. It's like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. If 84 people do something globally, it's very interesting that gets any kind of media coverage at all. Because, like, I don't know, if 84 people died from a freaking bridge collapse, it would maybe show up on the local news, but probably would not make national news. Because it's only 84 people.
I mean, if the bridge collapsed because of America's failure, that is global news.
If the bridge collapses because of the Mothman, that's global news.
The bridge.
Silver Bridge. Yeah, but I mean, you looked up something else too. You had something else on there.
I did have a couple, but we've already touched on them. Like the
we?
MOMO one, that apparently I can't say. And then
no, we should not speak the name of MOMO.
I want to, because I just hate saying MOMO.
MOMO.
I'm gonna call her Om. Like nom nom.
Lomo.
No.
Slow mo. No. Omo.
And then of course I looked up the daycare,
Dick hair? What?
The McMartin daycare.
The McMartin daycare. Okay, I know. Okay. I can't freaking talk. Shut.
I was like, what is the dick hair mass hysteria?
Well, I mean, Emilio's talking about people's dicks getting stole, so.
So one of them that I looked up and I kind of like glanced over but I didn't read, but like I'll go ahead and read over now. It's like the Hollandwell incident Did we talk about that?
Hollandwell?
The Hollandwell incident refers to, it happened in July 1980. Around 300 children suffered fainting attacks, nausea, and other symptoms. The incident happened in Hollingwood Showground in Kirby and Ashfield in Nottinghamshire, England. And the exact cause has never been determined.
It sounds a lot like the cheerleaders that were all having the seizures or whatever at the school. Like that seems to be like a common one where people are having fainting spells.
Yeah, so they do like the two leading theories, of course, mass hysteria, and then one of them is like pesticides. They think maybe the kids have inhaled some
Monsanto.
Well, because those are the 1980 pesticides, so they were just chock full of DEET.
I say they did hose people down with pesticides that did cause baby deformities, so it's not that out of the.
Like Agent
you're talking
Orange
about
Light.
Agent Orange?
Agent Orange Light.
I would say there was a couple that just.
But in 1980, the Hollywell Show, an annual event in the Hollywell Showground near Kirkby and Asheville, took place on the 13th of July. As part of the event, the Forest League of Juvenile Jazz Bands decided to hold a charity show, creating a junior brass and marching competition, blah, blah. Around 500 children from 11 marching bands were in attendance, many of them brought by coaches from up to 40 miles away. With the show scheduled at 9 a.m., many of the children were tired from their journeys and nervous about performing. So that's probably one of the reasons why they think it was like mass hysteria.
So why don't they think it's like heat exhaustion? Because like I've seen so many, because it specifically mentioned it was like marching band people, right? And I've seen you guys just pass out in the
well, I mean, it depends. Like, so, because it just depends. Because like in the summertime, in England, a heat spell for them is like 80 degrees, but they don't have air conditioning. Like a lot of places, they don't have air conditioning there. They've never needed it. I talked to a guy like at work who was, he's from England, and he was saying that like, yeah, it's like at its warmest, it's in the 80s. It very rarely like.
But I mean, it could have been. We don't know. We can't know about any of these for sure. Not even the ones going on now, because we don't have the inside information.
Well,
it's all guesses.
At around 10:30 a.m., that's when they started fainting. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'd be too kind of early. Catherine brought up the one that we were watching that we always get angry about. It comes up in our urban legends one, but the passing out the edibles at Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we were just,
God.
Which is absolutely not happening. And then there's the people putting razor blades
I
in
can
the
recommend a show I watch on YouTube called Some More News, but he does a really good episode on the Halloween candy stuff.
Was it okay? So, but the Halloween candy did come from one
It was
incident.
the kid whose dad.
It
did
was,
it was the kid
existed
who's dead, but,
before
like,
that.
Yeah, that wasn't from that. He did that because to hide it. He was going to try.
I thought that was from him.
He was trying to pass it off as someone else had done it. That's why he did it that way.
You guys are just screaming into your microphones.
Sorry.
I get excited.
Yeah, but that's why.
Yeah, that myth that urban legend had existed before that happened.
Okay.
And then the one time it happened, they looked everywhere for this guy doing it, and turned out to be the dad. He'd put cyanide into the pixie sticks. Yeah,
but yeah, he was doing it because that was already
He was
established.
I was like, they wasn't a family annihilator guy. Like
He wanted. He had a life insurance policy.
the
on his kid.
Candyman can. Yeah. And then, the stupid bullcrap about, they're handing out edibles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We all know that stupid.
And then there's this really good news story that some other news guy covered. I can't remember his name. Cody. And what's the puppet?
Wormbo is the puppet.
God damn it, Wormbo.
It's a news show I watch, but it's this guy. He didn't start doing it until Trump became president. So he has this stick where his hair's messed up and like his tie's halfway undone, and he just like yells at the camera. But he has this creepy puppet that shows up sometimes called Wormbo.
interesting.
And
it's really good and really informative.
It is
too.
very funny, and it's very well researched.
Okay.
And yeah, he's really good. It's like maybe
Although
45 minutes.
The one about the most recent stuff that happened in the Supreme Court is really goddamn depressing.
It is.
Because
And
the girl he has on there looks like she's about to burst into tears.
Her face is just red the whole, because he had a girl come on and talk. He has a partner. But yeah, she came on and talked about it, and she's just the whole time I'm like, she's gonna cry, and I cannot deal with this.
So this is an official advertisement for that show.
It's
Some
really
more
good.
news.
It's
really
really
good. You should
well
go.
researched.
It's way better than our show, but
and
not
it's
paranormal
funny.
themed.
It's funny. Although the one we were watching, he was dressed up as a Frankenstein. So the monster. Frankenstein is the monster.
At the end of that book, he says,
I
"It's
thought it was
okay.
his-
I don't care if you call me Frankenstein."
I thought it was the doctor.
No, I don't know what you're
no,
talking
the
about.
monster is Frankenstein's monster.
No, I don't know what Allie's talking about.
It's
Frankenstein.
Mass hysteria.
It's
See?
Dr. Frankenstein. No.
It's Frankenstein.
She has mass hysteria. Everyone does. It's
I thought
not
that would
the
fall
doctor.
under. I thought it would fall under the Mandela effect.
Please tell us about Havana Syndrome. This is the
Okay.
newest.
But someone else has to watch the comments because.
Shoot.
Oh, I'm watching them right now. They're talking about asbestos in school. So
Although
we're
I'm
good.
not going to read directly from the page. Anyway, Havana Syndrome, it started in 2016 at the consulate in Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And people started saying they were sick. They had headaches. They were passing out. They
Oh,
were
those were on.
nauseous.
Those are all on the list.
Yeah, they were having numbness, tingling, and ringing in their ears and headaches.
Okay.
And
Which I think those share similarities with Gulf War syndrome too, right?
well,
yeah, the same
I
symptoms.
didn't do much because I just thought of that right before we walked in here.
Mm-hmm.
But they had in common the feeling or sensation of being hit by something, like an invisible wall, or like one of their ears would pop and then it would start. And they still don't know why that's.
They were hearing a buzzing, right? Did you just say that?
Tinnitus. They were having some ringing.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually they started recording. Oh, this is the noise I heard, and they recorded it, and it was.
Don't give away the punchline yet. Let's talk
But
about the whole thing.
that's not what it was. It does. That's not the punchline, because that's not the end of this.
Okay.
They said, "Oh, that's crickets. That's you're crazy." And then they kept saying, "Okay, well, I'm hearing this hum, whatever." So the government comes in and they say, "Oh, it's a sonic weapon," or it's Then they thought it was a microwave ray.
Yeah, they said the Russians and
Well, it was the Cubans first, but in the 70s during the Cold War, there was actually next
there
to
was
the American
documentation
consulate,
that the Russians had been bombarding people with microwaves,
they
and
built a tower.
there was a tower with a rogue satellite dish on
And
it.
they said it was microwave. We have no idea what it was.
Yeah, it was there, and we said we don't know what that's for.
It
so
must
that's
be a
what,
weapon.
That's what they're using.
I think is some Russians built a tower to scare the Americans, and
To
the
troll
tower
us.
was for nothing. But anyway,
it might be transmitting the numbers station.
oh
but
yeah, probably. But
Number stations are creepy, man.
I've lost the thread.
I'm sorry.
Havana
Oh no,
Syndrome.
that's
I'm
fine.
so sorry.
It's not you.
They were bombarding us with microwaves.
Supposedly, but then cases popped up in Russia, and I think it was China. I don't remember the other one.
China,
Yeah.
it was.
Where they were having these same symptoms, and I was actually listening to part of a podcast earlier where it was a leader from the CIA talking about his symptoms. Talking about how crippling it was. He can't get out of bed. He can't work anymore. He can't function. He said, I never understood drug addiction, but now having this pain, he was like, I completely understand why someone, and it's really interesting to hear him talk about it because obviously he's not making it up.
Yeah, in the part you're missing out of that. So it showed up in Russia, China, blah blah blah. But what it was is what the common thread between these people in these different places is they were all CIA.
Well, they all work for the American government.
Or work for American government,
The
but-
first constellation was CIA agents, and then it spread to like other government workers, and then their families.
Okay.
Their families too started
Right,
experiencing
right.
this. Well, our government just decided to give all of these people $200,000 if they can prove that they have a injury from it.
Yes, they passed legislation called the Havana Act.
Yeah, the Havana Act.
And they made up an acronym that
It spells
spells out
Havana.
Havana or whatever. But even though it's mainly attributed to like a mass hysteria, it was at the time that they passed the act.
They passed the act like 2 months ago.
Okay, well, at that time, it was still kind of considered kind of a Fruit Loops thing, and they were giving compensation to people that were suffering from Havana Syndrome, even though they were basically saying the same thing as the 5G people. 5G is wrecking our brains.
I don't know. You must have read something different than I did because that's not like I don't know.
Okay, go.
My timeline's just a little different where they haven't actually given money to anyone yet because it
Okay.
was just very recently passed. And I think that article I was reading was from May, so maybe they have.
So
since then.
what is the act actually doing then? Because I thought it was some kind of compensation.
It is. It's compensation. They have to basically prove that they've been getting treatment for 12 12 months. They have to prove that they were like in this area during this time and that they were or whatever. They've got to prove that they have issues, that they can't function anymore. Like, getting disability. They have to have some stuff on paper. But the thing is, the government's completely unwilling to say that it's mass hysteria. They're still saying that it's some sort of attack.
Well, and what was funny is about that show we were watching, because he brought it up. Trump had got on there and brought it up, and then they absolutely slammed him, and he was talking about the difference between him bringing it up and Biden bringing it up, because Biden did not get slammed as hard as Trump for it, and Trump... It was the one time I've ever seen this guy actually defend something Trump did, because he was just talking about it as something that should like be investigated because there's symptoms and people are doing this thing or whatever. And everybody's like, just took a dump on it. And then when Biden brought it up, they're like, oh, let's pass the Havana Act. That's what we need to do, and suddenly it was a different story. And it's one of those rare occurrences where it was flipped around from what I would
I see this article's from February, but it's talking about the panel and like report given be prudent, vigilant against tactics intended to produce anxiety or trauma, intent to either disrupt, operate. Sorry, I spun past what I was looking at, and a statement that the government had convened panels in the past to examine the potential causes of the syndrome, but this is the first time a panel has had such a wide-ranging access to intelligence reporting and patient data and has engaged directly with affected individuals. The panelists spent almost 9 months undertaking this study. Their meticulous approach provides a roadmap for important work we still need to undertake. So, and then since then they passed the act, but they're still... they ruled out the crickets thing.
So we're in the middle.
It's so new.
We're in. So this is it's an interesting discussion. So we're in the middle of something that could be mass hysteria or it could be something real. But if it's something real, it's something so out there, it's not something we've dealt with. So let's think. So let's analyze it from like our perspective as people that are investigative and inquisitive, right? So we don't have an answer. So we're not calling it mass hysteria because it hasn't been ruled that yet, but it has all the symptoms of that. The people that are experiencing it, what demographics do they fall under? So we know what the major three characteristics are. Low IQ. So would you say that these government officials are low IQ people? So no.
That was the thing that they thought debunked mass hysteria, was that they're not low IQ, they're not in the right age or any of that demographic, not in the right gender demographic.
Honestly, that would make it the perfect weapon.
Yeah, say they're smart. We don't know if they're introverts or extroverts, and we don't know They had they're in the CIA. Obviously, their job is they have anxiety, but more than normal, I don't know.
Okay, let's look at it from a technological idea. So currently, the out there theory, if it's not mass hysteria, is that people are being bombarded with microwaves. Is this something that we think would do anything? We do know. So okay, from a science perspective,
I don't think it would do that.
I don't think you could specifically cause these symptoms.
Well, what about the sonic weapon? Because that's what they're saying now, is that these people have some sort of actual brain damage from a blast.
That's actually something we've looked into as a group. A sonic weapon would be infrasound. And we know that low levels of constant infrasound bombarding you will interfere with the way your brain works.
Maybe foreign governments are pumping out infrasound in order to scare our CIA. I don't know, man.
Well, foreign governments may be doing it, but we definitely know that just industry is doing it constantly. You have the Taos Hum. You have the Hum up in north of Chicago in Canada, where it's industries...
What?
North of Chicago in Canada.
What's the other side of the Hudson? What's the name of that town that I was doing a
the
thing
Hudson
on?
is in New York, buddy.
I don't know. I just think it's funny. That's what's north of Chicago is the entirety of Canada.
It is.
What
That's
is
where
it?
Canada belongs.
I was about to say he's not wrong.
It was very accurate. It wasn't right. It's just hysterical.
I hate you both so much right now.
Albany, Buffalo, New Mexico, Ohio.
This is why he doesn't have us both on at the same time.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh, you mother effers.
I've been
You
everywhere,
mother
man.
effers.
I've been everywhere. Just start naming towns across the
I'm going to
desert
start saying
there, man.
MO names so they just
Breathe
delete
the
this
mountain
episode.
air, man.
No, okay, so there's this where they make the cars.
There's a
Detroit?
Yeah, Detroit, not Chicago. And then the other side of the
They don't
Great
make
Lake.
cars in Canada, obviously.
You assholes! The other side of the Great Lake from there experiences some kind of
Great Lake?
Hey.
There's 5 of them.
I'll just never talk again.
Oh, thank God.
Big old,
I didn't know there was a weird noise in Detroit. I only knew about the Taos one.
And there's like one in Seattle too.
Isn't that just what Detroit sounds like? It's just sad.
It just sounds like unhappiness.
It's just a homeless man crying.
Basically, so a lot of people were reporting this like a hum that only certain people could hear, but it was driving them nuts, and it was observable because they could see like their windows vibrating at certain. And
Is it because a lot of it is abandoned?
they really don't know. Like there's been a bunch of studies where they say, oh, it's kind of coming from this industrial area, but they can't tie it down to specific pieces of machinery. But they have recorded that there are high levels of infrasound bombardment in that area, and it's making people go nuts. And it's doing that thing where it vibrates the fluid in your eyeballs, it gives you a headache, it makes you sick to your stomach, all the symptoms, which all sound in line with a lot of the Havana Syndrome, which doesn't mean it's necessarily on purpose. That could just all be happening globally because of industry.
It could be EMS. It could be infrasound. But what I very seriously doubt is it's some sort of magical weapon the Russians have invented. I don't know, man.
Now, I'm not saying that somebody wouldn't weaponize infrasound. I mean, like we did MK Ultra. The Nazis messed around with infrasound. It is not beyond the scope of reason that somebody is tinkering with this.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's really not out of the scope of. I mean, it isn't. You know, and because it's a perfect weapon. Because who the fuck is going to believe you? No one.
Well, it's like when Jesse Ventura was governor and he went on live TV and said they made a weather death ray that controls that. It sounds nuts. But there's no doubt in my mind
that the HARP stuff too.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that I don't think the government is doing this like actively.
Oh, I would assume
doing this, but not like a purpose.
But there's no doubt in my mind that somebody's not experimenting with it as a weapon. If there's that much money in the government, and somebody's like, "Hey, I bet I can make a sound death ray that disables all of our." Yeah, sure. I'll throw 100
Shit, if
million
some
at
dude
it.
came up to me and said he could make a sound death ray, I'd be like, man, I got $5. Like, what?
What do you need to make this happen? I mean,
it just sounds rad.
I mean, there's private groups and there's government groups that are probably still studying psychical research. They just came out with UFO research. It's not beyond the scope that somebody's doing something with it.
It's most likely like a business or a corporation or
it's going to be private contracting.
Well, I would say except that it popped up in Cuba and then randomly spread. Not randomly, but it spread so far to Russia and China, like at the start. Now it's in a bunch of places.
Well, okay. Here's a question I have about it too. How many of those cases may have already existed in that area, but they didn't get reported as part of this Havana Syndrome until key parties went in there and reported those effects? So we're only looking at a small demographic in a bigger epidemic of those symptoms.
The CIA guy that I was listening to, he went to Russia for some sort of thing. In the middle of the night, he says he woke up and the whole room was spinning. He couldn't stand up. His head hurt. He was nauseous.
Yes, I think I remember hearing about this.
He finally went back to bed, but the next day he had to go somewhere else to like do some government, whatever CIA people do. I don't know, murder somebody. He came back like 2 weeks later.
Spreadsheets. He was doing spreadsheets.
He was fine for the whole 2 weeks. He was gone, but he says the day he gets back, he's having dinner at the or wherever he's hanging out in Russia. hits him during dinner again. He felt like something hit him. He starts hearing ringing, the room's spinning.
Sounds like a localized event to that area.
It's just interesting that it happens at Cuba, Russia, and China, just like all like right now.
Well, I'm just saying I would not be, and I know this sounds like, something our parents would say, but honestly, I would not be surprised if...
It's also interesting, those are our three main enemies.
Yeah.
It sounds like slander. Like if you specifically say those three countries, it's interesting they didn't throw in like at this. Like now
those are the three main countries that have nuclear weapons,
and they're also like, I mean, Russia not so much anymore, but notoriously like communist, and
they're all either communist,
evil,
or socialist,
or like under a dictator.
It's very interesting that those, and no one else was feeling that around him. He's around other people. Well, the first time he was in his room alone, and the second time he was having dinner, and he didn't report anyone near him feeling anything. But I didn't get through very much of the podcast because I only found it like 20 minutes before we came out here.
So the interesting thing we found in our infrasound study is not everyone is susceptible to the same. Like while the symptoms are common from infrasound and high EMF, not everybody experiences it. You can have 5 people in a room and only 2 people will be sensitive to those effects. Okay. While everybody else is just fine. And it has to do with how it's interacting with your own physiology.
But
or biology, maybe biology.
Let's say they did some tests on these people and they did find some brain damage, like a blast hit them. How would that affect different people? If they're sitting in the same place, what I'm saying is like it would have to affect them, but you can't. It's not like a mental health thing. You can't get out of it by being less susceptible.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about microwave, like if we get away from,
we're not talking about. We're talking about a theoretical sonic weapon. It would have to be sonic because it had some sort of blunt impact.
Well,
but it also means like they figured out a way to like. I mean, they would have had to have figured out a way to direct it purposely to one person instead of
like a small
like
group.
Why not everybody in that room?
I mean, you can focus sound waves that way.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but like
but that would be a real. Here's the thing: the expense involved. Okay, first off, it didn't kill him. It didn't.
But I am going to look up his name and link it so everyone can...
At worst, that was a very major annoyance, right? The money that would be involved to direct infrasound directly at one person from, I'm not even going to say space, let's say a drone flying overhead. That's a very expensive troll, is what that is. Because you're not hurting anybody. You're not even inconveniencing him to the point where it's like, oh, he can't do his. I mean, he's just having dinner with his family. Like, what would be the purpose of getting those results? And that's where that kind of thinking starts to break down. Whereas maybe it's happening as a result of an experiment, and that's just what the results are. And it's supposed to explode his brain.
And I don't want to read a whole article.
Please don't.
Well, this one's really interesting.
Yeah, don't be me.
It's a CIA director travels to India and starts having symptoms. It set off alarm bells within the U.S. government and left him super angry that people weren't like paying attention or whatever. The event marks the second time in less than a month reported, of this illness. And last month, this was an older article, the vice president's visit to Vietnam was actually delayed due to reports of Havana Syndrome. And that guy is, his name is, he's CIA Director Bill Burns. What?
Pull your mic up.
Oh, sorry. So that's Bill Burns. That wasn't the guy I was specifically looking for. But, these are like, it's people that I would not suspect of faking, or being susceptible to mass hysteria. However, faking it for our government or for some sort of reason,
or even they could even be using it as like some kind. Oh God, I sound like an idiot saying this, but like some kind of media distraction to
is
keep.
it a false flag?
Yeah, is that what that means?
Yes.
Yeah, is kind of a distraction to get you not thinking about what's happening in the Supreme Court, or to get you not talking about voter fraud, or just any swath of any other issue that's going on.
You mean the lack of voter fraud?
CIA
Maybe,
officer suffered
yeah.
crippling symptoms in Moscow. What is his name? Mark Polymeropoulos. Polymeropoulos is his last name.
Didn't he play Zach on Saved by the Bell?
But yeah, I was just going to go ahead and link this article under the thing so people can like see his name and stuff if they want to look anything up.
I kind of think maybe there is something to that though.
It's
and
just
because
especially they're like smart, like well read. It's just
I think there's actually something to. I think there is something because like I mean whatever whatever technology we have, the government's like 30 years ahead of us.
I'm very leaning on the possibility that there is actually something physical going on that's causing those symptoms with those people. I don't necessarily think it is a deliberate
attack.
Sort of attack. I think it is a spillover from some sort of industry or something that these people have in common. It could also be something that has to, because like you said, it started with a small cell of government people, like something that they all have in common, like a specific, because these are all people that went out of the country, so they're taking different vaccines than we're taking. They might be it might be side effects from something like to keep them from getting malaria or what. I don't know enough about it.
If they had some sort of commonality, they would have found that already if they'd all had this fact, because it's nothing but
you're right. I'm trying to outthink somebody that's already
way ahead of
me.
I'm also reticent to say anyone is faking or not experiencing anything, because so many people leveled that accusation at me before I had like a diagnosis on paper, and you know what I mean.
Yep.
They accuse you. So I don't ever want to accuse anyone else of faking. I don't think anyone's malingering here, or if they are.
Well, what advantage would they have to do it? I mean, to what end would they be doing that other than to get us worried about what the Russians are doing or what the Cubans are doing or
That's
something like
exactly
that?
What it seemed like. It's weird. Like, I don't know.
But a lot of people would have to be in on that is the thing. And if we've seen anything, our government agencies and government people, they cannot cohesively work together. I'd also be interested to see if Havana Syndrome is crossing any kind of political lines, like how many of them are Republican or Tea Party or Democrat. Like if it's like, it would be really suspicious if everybody that had Havana Syndrome was a Democrat, because then I might be like, that's kind of a weird coincidence that it only affects them. So is this some kind of thing to make the Republicans kind of wig out? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like we're...
Yeah. I'm saying that's very outlandish, but I'm saying if something like that existed, then I would that would give me cause to think that maybe they're faking it. But nothing like that does exist that I know of.
Not so far, and like I'm sure a bunch of this stuff is still gonna, but it might never come to light. Like the real cause of Gulf War syndrome, whatever that was, psychogenic illness or real illness, has never come to light. They've never been like, oh, it was definitely Agent Orange, like
Vietnam.
Yeah, like Vietnam. They've never said that. They've never been like, oh, it was definitely this, which sucks for the victims, because until there's like a real cause on paper, it's just going to be very not fun for them. And even if it is like a psychogenic illness, obviously these people need some sort of mental health care, because the only way to deal with it, like you said, a mass illness like this, is to let it run its course.
Right. Yeah. In almost all official cases of mass psychogenic illness or mass hysteria, intervention only exacerbates. So in the old cases, anytime they did an exorcism, there was no, in the mass hysteria cases, we're not talking about like just individuals having a thing, where sometimes exorcism works, even if you're saying it's a mental thing, it has this like placebo effect to it. In mass hysteria cases, placebo effects never work. So if you have a bunch of people that think they're possessed, doing a mass exorcism has never worked. If you have a bunch of people that are suffering from some sort of Tourette, there was a Tourette syndrome outbreak once that came from the internet. It was one of the first internet ones, and they went in and tried to treat it with like placebo medications because people weren't They were saying, hey, this is mass hysteria. You don't really have these like Tourette's thing, and they were prescribing placebo medications, and it did not work. Like almost every time, the only things that have brought a mass hysteria episode to an end has been mental health, like therapy, and just letting it run its course on its own until it died out. Basically, like ignoring it, not giving them attention or whatever. Like historically, that's not to say that they're. That's just what I read, and obviously I'm not a physician, so.
Oh no, I was just reading Catherine's comment on the lower regulation. Maybe they have lower regulations in other countries for infrasound, but like now there's people in every country experiencing it. It's
Yeah.
It's a pandemic. Sorry, it's gone across.
Well, it actually is because,
or maybe it's coming from the Earth itself because we've only got so many days.
Oh, it's happening. What?
Or no, it's just because we're all gonna die soon, and the Earth is tired of our shit, so it's gonna kill us all.
There are a lot. We're veering off into infrasound here, but what's interesting is a lot of research now that they're seeing the effects of infrasound on the human body. They're looking for sources of infrasound, and at first they were blaming industry. They think the increase in infrasound or the noticing of infrasound among the masses has been because industry has always gone up and up and up. But there is like on the graph, the proportions are different. Industry went way up while infrasound has only had like a slight curve. And they're both trending up, but they're not proportionate to each other. What is proportionate to each other is the movement of tectonic plates. And so the new theory that geologists and thermographic mechanics are starting to explore is, are these higher levels of infrasound coming from tectonic plates movement? And they're looking to see if these areas that have all these weird infrasound reports are like closer to fault lines or volcanic activity, things like that. And it's a lot of it has been there's like underground water movement and stuff like that, but it's not 100%, and it's still ongoing research. Like they haven't been able to do anything with it, but they think there's some kind of correlation there.
I say that here, like the countries where people are experiencing the syndrome: Cuba, Germany, China, Russia, Austria, USA, Poland, Georgia, which is a country, okay, Taiwan, Australia, Colombia, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. So
both the stands.
All the stands. I stand stands. No, I find that. I mean, all that's really cool, and so this isn't the Havana Syndrome thing is cool because we're seeing it in real time, and we have the cognitive discipline to look at it and say, okay, it hasn't been brought to a conclusion yet, but it could be mass hysteria, or it could debatably be something that's really going on. So I'm really interested to like follow up with this as it progresses.
I kind of hope it's a thing. I don't know.
I saw for a split second what looked like an MRI of. Yeah. What was that?
What are y'all doing?
I didn't do anything. She was playing with the cord and knocked the thing down.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, but they're like MRIs and stuff that you can look at.
Oh, so they're actually tracking that it is having some kind of effect on the brain,
like a
man.
physiological. I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, a lot of times, like, wouldn't mass hysteria have an effect on the brain as well?
The brain, like, light up function, but like this looks like damage.
Okay, kind of like verbal assault. Like, you know how like sometimes like whenever like verbal assault damages the brain, just like physical assault. So like this is actually damaging the brain as opposed like.
I think this podcast is damaging my brain right now.
What do you then? What?
There's a correlation in my head. I'm sorry. Okay.
But anyway, yeah, they're seeing like almost like some sort of percussive damage, but they don't know for sure. It could have been that the MRI that they like. If this is their first MRI, then maybe they've always had that. Like we don't know.
So all the cases that we've talked about up till now, okay, so this is an ongoing case that could possibly be mass hysteria. And then all the cases before this weren't necessarily paranormal in nature. They were just cases of mass hysteria. But how do we apply this to like paranormal research? Because there are cases. Well, the Hammersmith ghost case is one that I didn't mention here because I almost wanted to do its own show. But the Hammersmith ghost case is really interesting because they're in Hammersmith, England, I believe. There were the sightings of this ghost. No, it wasn't Hammersmith, England. It was I think it was just London, England. Hammersmith is the name of the person that committed suicide, and people kept seeing his ghost out in the cemetery in this town or whatever. So, and it got to be so prevalent, people were getting scared and running away and hurting themselves trying to run away, that they brought out extra guard and police to like patrol the area, and people were carrying guns to, fight the ghost.
Oh, that's the one where the guy got shot, right?
That's exactly what happened. Somebody came out and saw the ghost in the graveyard, shot him dead, and it turned out it was a bricklayer who was wearing his white overalls or whatever. And it's the first documented case. Like they had to make new laws about, hey, you can't shoot ghosts. It's like one of the first paranormal murder sort of cases, and it became a thing. But there were like hundreds of people that kept seeing this ghost in this town, and eventually somebody got shot as a cause of it. But that's a perfect example of a paranormal event where there's plenty of witnesses. And normally in any case, if you talk to any paranormal investigator, like the more witnesses, the better. Like more people saw it, so it makes it more credible. That is not always 100% true. In this particular case and other cases that came after it, the more witnesses you had, the worse it got, because they were feeding off of the testimony of the other witnesses, and they weren't lying. They weren't just like making stuff up. They genuinely believed they thought they saw these things. And that's why, even though we go out and we get the witness statements and we talk to them, and it's very important, and it's a big part of the investigation. But a lot of that stuff has to be seen through the filter of your memory of the event, and the experiences you had are subject to not necessarily being 100% accurate. And I think, what percentage of paranormal cases do you think fall under that category? Where the
100.
Really 100?
What about the 1950 Phoenix? I don't know. Probably 100. How many ghosts do I think are mass hysteria? All of them.
Okay, well then I'll refer you back to Kyle, because that's all three of us.
We
was
were
that mass hysteria?
afflicted by mass hysteria.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I believe we were, yeah.
You think that's mass hysteria?
Yes.
I don't-
Is it more than 2 people? Okay, I guess it's
No, and I'm fine saying mass hysteria. On a small
I would-
scale.
minimal hysteria.
But we all had different accounts separate from each other without listening to the other person's testimony.
I mean, and that part is true. We did.
But none of us saw the exact same thing. We all saw different parts of what we have put together as one thing. So maybe,
I mean, it's a good study, because like, I mean, there are parts where like, yeah, I believe, like, I think we got each other riled up, but also we did see separate things. So it's hard to say on that one.
It's the only 2 options, ghost or mass hysteria.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm trying to apply this science to what we do and why it's important, because I do think it's important. I do think it's something to consider, because there are a lot of investigators we've talked to that are just like balls in on this, and if you say, do you think that these people could be wrong about what they said, they'll get really mad at you for even suggesting it or exploring it, and that's not fair.
When Catherine just said my ghost sighting was down a hall by myself, but like, you can be alone and like experience masses. It's just
in true, yes, and that's exactly what we're talking about. But
people shouldn't get mad though. Like,
but there's plenty of cases where 5 people see the same thing in the same room, and more witnesses to it kind of makes it more credible and kind of doesn't. Because they've done studies with like they'll like fake a crime or whatever, and they'll take like the 5 people that saw the crime and tell them to describe the guy, and you get 5 different descriptions. They'll be like, "What about the orange coat he was wearing?" "Oh yeah, he was wearing he wasn't wearing a coat."
That's what I used to do with people at my house. Everyone sees a ghost in this room, and people would see the ghost.
Oh, talk about that. That is a perfect example.
I would just that people.
But would that be? That's not mass hysteria.
Yes, it
That
is.
suggests. Oh yeah.
It's multiple people at different times.
Mass hysteria, like, I think can be caused by suggestion, because like Catherine's talking about, if she saw it by herself, is it not mass hysteria? But it still can be, because the idea was already in the head.
So okay, so we're veering into like not false testimony, but just like mistaken memories and stuff. We're veering into that, but it's all part of the same animal. Mass hysteria is just that bad memory, misidentification of what's going on, but it's happening in mass, and then it can cause symptoms like all of a sudden all 3 of your kids think they're possessed in your house, where one's suddenly having a problem, and then the second kid's having a problem, the third kid's having a problem in the house, and then everyone in the house thinks it's haunted, and then the Ghostbusters come out and they tell you have demons and you need to throw out your Disney stuff, and then you want to move out of your house. That is mass hysteria. There was nothing paranormal that we could find going on in their house. We disproved, and I only say that because we disproved all the claims that they had. Not to say that there couldn't have been anything paranormal going on in their house, but the things they were worried about, the things that they were hysterical about that were causing a problem, every single one of those things was disproved and had like a logical explanation. So it's, yeah, on an individual basis, it's the same thing as, oh, she saw a ghost, but nobody else saw it. And she saw a ghost and nobody else saw it. And he saw a ghost and nobody else saw it. And, you know, Travis Walton's boys all seeing the UFO.
I also feel like us going, oh, it could be mass hysteria, doesn't mean we're saying it is mass hysteria.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just a suggestion for what it potentially could be.
It's and I'm just talking about it from a perspective. It's something we have to watch out for. On a ghost hunt, when 5 people tell us they saw something in the window, like, we have more experience investigating those things. So when those 5 people tell us that, 5 people saying they saw something in the window when we were looking at the same window and we probably think it's a drape, those 5 people don't hold the same weight, because we know how those events can be misinterpreted by a big group of people, and it just kind of goes around.
And Catherine says, so like visitors and patients, multiple people at different times generally ask me if there were kids in the hospital or a daycare on site. Yeah, stuff like that. But I mean,
the problem with it is that that's a very typical like claim. It's in the back of our collective conscious, is just human Americans living in 2020.
She says she never saw or heard any kids. So.
Yeah, I mean, okay, she's high IQ and, well, she's very extroverted, so yeah, she's.
Here you go. Sorry, you're screwed. Extrovert.
Yeah.
Gross.
You're an idiot.
Extroverts are gross. You know what I feel about you, extrovert.
That's a different kind of sickness. But
Why
but
do
I
you
mean,
even have
but in the collective conscious, everybody thinks that hospitals are haunted, and everybody thinks that cemeteries are haunted. Like these are common things you see on TV, so you're gonna get it from. No one's really separated from that story.
I was gonna say, I think actually, in some of the time we've been ghost hunting, we've been more prone to mass hysteria than.
Yeah, because we're looking for it.
Well, not just we're looking for it, but for a while, I think we all thought we were too good for it.
Oh yeah.
And I think that makes you more susceptible.
Yeah, we hit some kind of weird bell curve there. Where we weren't talking about our feelings, and we definitely weren't scared, and there's no way that we could trick ourselves into thinking we saw something that wasn't there.
I do think there's a point where you get too big for your britches and bite yourself,
Yeah, and then something grabs your hand in a jail, and
okay, the wind blows, and you think something has grabbed your hand in a jail.
It did. It happened.
Yes, absolutely, sweetie.
We got about 10 minutes. Keep it going.
You sound so lost.
I think
No, I mean it's. I think it's very important. But how do we differentiate?
I also think it's completely improvable, and there is nothing we can do to tell for sure if it's one or the other.
I mean,
well, it's objective investigation. You have to go objectively investigate the claims of the things they're having.
But even then, if you go 3 times and they live there year round, you're proving nothing. You have to be there as often as they are.
And a lot of it were like, whenever, like with mass hysteria and stuff like that, like it's hard to tell. It's hard to lay a finger on because you are having physical reactions to it. So how do you weed out if you're just freaking yourself out?
And you can say all day that us going to a place and investigating it proves it's not haunted, but it doesn't. These people live in their home 365 days a year.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying on a claim-by-claim basis.
Well,
if you can find the source of a particular disturbance, then
doesn't mean that's the only thing that's ever caused that noise. Like, let's say, okay, the knocking we heard at that house. Now, let's say they got rid of the fridge, threw it in the fucking garbage, and they still heard it. I'm saying that just because what we heard knocking was the fridge doesn't mean what they heard knocking was the fridge. We don't know. We're playing.
No, I agree with
we're
that.
playing guess. But there's no way, unless we literally live there, we can prove that we're.
In that specific example, you are correct.
Specific example, I think.
Oh my goodness.
I just think we're doing the best we can, but I don't think there's any way to 100% say this is mass hysteria.
There's not. I mean, there's really, like, I mean, unless we had, like, we're not scientists, bro. We're not brain scientists.
Everybody is a scientist.
Sometimes. Thanks, Carlos. This isn't Night Vale. I just, the way you said it, it seemed like if we do investigations or whatever and prove that the knocking is the fridge, you're saying, oh, well, that's us proving it's not mass hysteria, or that it is mass, but that's not. It's us just making the most educated guess we can possibly
I think
make.
in that specific example, that's not hysteria. We proved that there was a knocking that they were hearing.
I wasn't talking about any case where they're hearing a certain noise.
I'll meet you at any case, bro.
Anyway, that was my thought.
That's not what we're doing here, Bradley.
Don't dead name me.
Oh.
You did.
Ashton on the podcast.
Sorry.
Yeah. God, you're awful.
Anyway, so what are your thoughts on what I just said?
I think you're right. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. But I mean, how much weight? I think you have to be careful with witness statements because you want to be believing of everything that they say because you want to investigate the experiences that they're having because it's very important. But at the same time, you can't just take everything at face value because not everything that they say and everything that they experience is 100% how that is. What are you laughing?
Oh, except for the dancing to death people. That was 100% provable mass hysteria.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, ghosts, we can't prove.
Ghosts is really hard because we don't actually, like, if there is paranormal stuff happening, we don't exactly understand what that is. So you have all these unknowns. First off, mass hysteria isn't exactly defined. Like, it's kind of floating out there in the ether. Then you have paranormal stuff, which isn't exactly understood unless you're a complete asshole and you just shut it down. You're like, no, it's always mass hysteria. There are no ghosts. But there are things that happen out there that we don't really understand the mechanic by which it happens.
That means they're ghosts, apparently.
So there's this big giant Venn diagram where shit crosses over, and in every single section of it, there's a big question mark. Mass hysteria, definitely. Oh, shit, that's a question mark. Paranormal, definitely. Well, that's a question mark because we don't understand. Could it be both? I'm going to put 2 question marks in that one.
It's like the circle of political bullshit and medical bullshit. And then paranormal bullshit, and they all cross over right in the middle, and no one knows and you can't prove anything one way or the other.
Oh my God, the eye of that hurricane is right where I want to be, where it's just conspiracy theories and fake moon
at the
landings.
Very middle, it's QAnon.
Oh, yeah. No, that's QAnon's definitely
That gets
right.
its own episode.
Oh, God, yes. Yes.
QAnon is everything I want. Okay, so scroll through the comment.
I told you I had to click off the page to look at the Havana Syndrome stuff.
Okay, let me.
I stated it before I did it. Y'all heard me, right?
Let me go through here.
This is his fault.
I mean, I heard you.
Y2K. Oh, I'm sorry. I was busy, doing things like running the show.
Yeah, okay. You're doing a fine job.
Hey, where's Canada?
I believe it's north.
It's in the attic.
It's north
America's
of Chicago, right?
Next to those.
That's technically
Great
not
Lake
wrong,
things.
you bitch.
He said a bad word.
He did say a bad word.
I don't like him anymore.
You can't call me that.
What about the 1950 Phoenix
Oh, yeah, that was
Lights
Lights.
UFO phenomenon? Anthony Flights. I
I'd
don't know,
have to
but
look that up. I don't know.
UFO ones are good. Like you brought up the Stephenville UFO.
Yeah, because it was like a few people saw UFO, and then suddenly everybody and their dog was seeing UFOs. Like all of a sudden, like.
And then what's interesting about that is 20 years later, now the government is declassifying
I am
UFOs.
so excited about that.
I know.
Like, because I like, and they dropped it at just the right time because it was like 2020 when they started saying, hey, like just because they're like waiting because like everybody's so like concentrated on like COVID and Trump and everything like that, and they're like, oh, by the way, UFOs, we've been looking at them. Like they was kind of whispering, like they just kind of dropped it one day,
and they're really nuts UFOs that show up in the like. It doesn't necessarily have to be aliens, but I don't know what it is because it doesn't match what I know or anybody knows about aeronautics, like the way it moves. It moves like some kind of alien craft. It doesn't have to be aliens, but damn well could be because that's weird. Like I've watched those videos.
I imagine like a lot of people who have spent their lives doing this are feeling a little bit like, feeling a little bit of the Margaret Mitchell effect, like they've been the Margaret Mitchell effect. Okay, so
No, I don't know what you're talking
Yes, repeat
about.
the same thing over. That'll help.
yes,
The
okay.
Margaret Mitchell effect.
So Margaret Mitchell was a wife of one of the key players in Nixon's cabinet.
I love how she thinks this is common knowledge.
Yeah, like
It's and
anyone our age
How
knows
do you not
anything
know what
about
the Margaret Mitchell effect is?
it's a psychological term,
Fucking
but like
heathen.
Okay, Margaret Mitchell was the wife of somebody in Nixon's cabinet.
yeah, who was saying for a long time that like, hey, Nixon's behind Watergate, like Nixon, he's behind all of this.
Oh, she was a whistleblower, and no one listened to her.
Well, no, she wasn't the whistleblower. She was just saying like, hey, he's shady, he's doing all this shit, blah blah blah. But people treated her like a pariah. People like gaslit
yeah.
her to think they like freaking medicated her, like
and
treated
then
her like she's
Forrest
crazy.
Gump
And then
picked up that phone one night. Man, there's a whole lot of lights going on over there. I think the power's out or something.
no, but like it turns out, like, so the Margaret Mitchell effect is basically whenever just someone who is treated like a pariah who's then later proven right. So
There's a word for that. It's called vindication.
Except, when you're dead, it doesn't help. Okay.
Well, I think what bothers me most about the UFO thing isn't the aliens or who's controlling that or, hey, these are real. It's the fact that these came to light because Tom effing DeLonge decided to quit playing punk rock music and, become
UFOlogists?
in like
I mean,
invest
I
all
don't
his-
think it came to light because it's Tom DeLonge. It came to light because
No, that's exactly why. No, it's
It is.
It's 100%. He
okay, because
he
I
had
was
the
like, they were
connection.
always. I mean, I figured they were always gonna release it whenever like the time was right, and
He
of course
had-
they waited till the whole world was distracted.
He had connections to some former military people, not all of them to be named or whatever, and got a hold of this footage and went, "This is real," and everyone went, "God dang it, Tom DeLonge, stop being crazy. Take your pants off and go play some punk rock." And then these videos got released, and the government was like, "Yeah, those are real. There's no way to get around this one." Yeah, they kind of got caught with it, and instead of playing the deny game, said, "Yeah, okay, we'll give you this one. That's real footage. That is not faked."
Okay.
And it burns me up that Blink-182 has blown the lid off of UFOs, and he's doubled down. He said it's absolutely alien. Like he's like, it's definitely aliens. It's definitely alien. Like, but yeah. it's interesting. I want to do a whole episode on that at some point because that's great. Because my mind has slowly started changing about the whole UFO thing and Bob Lazar.
Yeah, Catherine says I need someone to do a video about what they declassified because for some reason I can't be bothered to read through all of it. And I said, we'll let you do it because that sounds fucking awful.
Oh,
having to listen to any of it. God, I hate alien stuff. Oh, so boring.
I love it.
So boring.
I feel like if space aliens actually invaded, they would frame it as a border crisis in politics.
I don't know, but like mass hysteria is a real thing, and it apparently causes real physiological symptoms. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and the room's spinning and your head hurts, it's definitely Cuban sonic weapons.
Either from Russia, Cuba,
and
or China.
You should call for your $200,000.
Absolutely. Look up the Havana Act, which is an acronym. They somehow work that into an act. That's the most amazing thing about this whole episode.
There's some news guy pointed out that's a pretty racist name. Like, it's like calling the COVID you know what they were calling it. So, but that is what they're calling it. So I don't know what else to call it.
I almost just, like, without even thinking, I was just like,
nope, don't do it.
I'm not.
I mean, when that's the name for something, I don't know what to call it. But yeah, if it's just that politics of they're our enemy, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so it's wrap up time. So, I mean, what have we learned today? Mass hysteria is a thing. It's when multiple people are basically exhibiting symptoms or having thoughts of witnessing something or reacting to something that is maybe not actually happening. Like there's actually not a physiological trigger to it that crosses over into
Canada is north of Chicago.
Canada is north of Chicago. It crosses over into paranormal research because you have to really pay attention to what your witness statements are saying.
And yourself.
Yeah. And yourself, you're susceptible to it. If you hear it from the witnesses of the case you're investigating, you are absolutely putting yourself in the middle of that hysteria. And if you're working with a group for what you're doing, it's very easy to fall into that trap. And I think the only way to battle that is documentation of everything you're doing. Document how you feel, document what you see, what you hear, what all the witnesses are saying. But you also have to document with like video and audio so that you have perfect recall of those events that are happening.
Catherine says what she's learned is that extroverts are susceptible to mass hysteria. I just also think ghost hunting, like as a hobby or like as a thing you do, is like one of the it's very like tied into mass hysteria. I don't think you're like, oh, well, if you hear from someone, it could be haunted. But I think just going out and doing it doesn't matter if you've heard anything.
Well, especially ghost tours. I think you're signing up for a mass hysteria tour.
I think just us wandering out into a cemetery or just anywhere. If we go to my house in the middle of the night, I think just by the act of what we're going to do, we could incite mass hysteria. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just
Well, I mean, we incite mass hysteria all the time. Oh no, you said you didn't have anything to say. Was I interrupting you? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Oh, I thought you said no. I don't. I wasn't trying to interrupt. I misinterpreted what you were saying. I just misinterpreted. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, you know, I think part of it, like, we seek out the mass hysteria because we look for something that's more exciting than our normal lives. So we hope. I think a lot of it is just based off of hope that there's actually something out there that like makes everything a little less mundane.
I wish you brought that up sooner because that's a really good like, and it's interesting because like especially in politics, it's what people want to believe. It's that the Republicans are going to save you from the child cannibalizing liberal. Like it's like a self.
Well, yeah, there's the truth, and then there's the truth that's more palatable or the
more interesting.
Yeah, you'll take the conspiracy over the reality because it's more fun.
Well, it is. It's more fun than like, because you know, life is boring for the most part. Like it really is.
But it's a weird phenomenon because
ghosts would be more fun.
You're not choosing it and going, oh, this is more fun, so I choose to believe this. Like your brain actually thinks that's the thing, and that's what it gravitates towards.
I don't know.
Like,
We're at 2 hours, but now I wish we'd talked about that.
No,
I'm sorry. I wish I've been thinking it. Like I've been thinking it for a while. Like
I'm
it's
sorry,
just been spinning in my head, and I'm just like,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I misinterpreted what you were
matter.
saying. Is I feel bad now.
Okay, we'll do it off the show.
Okay, well, that's our show for the day. I hope everybody liked it. We will try to figure out what the next episode is and have everybody back on, and we will have more fun discussions. Be sure to stop by the website and check out. We got like some new videos and new pictures up, things like that. We did a cemetery snoop last weekend. We're gonna
Is
try
that
to,
really what we're going to call that? Can we not?
I don't know. I don't care.
We mostly found a kitten.
Yeah,
There's a very loud kitten.
yeah.
We found the world's loudest kitten.
Yeah, it was definitely a haunted kitty. But yeah, we're going to try to do more stuff like that. And then eventually we are going to get back to doing investigations again. We're just trying to get back into the swing of things. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope everybody liked this discussion, and we will see you next time.
bye.